despair and drama. If God does love you, I hope you make him wear a condom. People think with prayer they're safe in the streets. Frederick Douglass didn't become free till he prayed with his feet. You can tell the hell in God are man-made. They both want to question authority and demand slaves. And any incarnation of slavery's not good. So from here we can deduce Stockholm Syndrome is not good. But it gets deeper than this, especially when people get pissed. When you point out their deity's nature and even intent. But I'll never worship anything with evil in it, especially something who allows evil to even exist. I don't give a shit if he created me. That don't give him the right to commit genocide with pride and act crazily. His abused and neglected claim is crooked biz. If this was Cali, DCFS would've came and took his kids. Belief is so important that if you don't, you go to hell. Without the type of proof you need in court to avoid a jail. Give me the gas can and send me. I don't need the draws, all because I can't fathom how your God doesn't need a cause. What this looks like imprisonment. Yeah. Verses that the prisoners don't know that they're prisoners. Yeah. Even defend the tactics that they used to imprison them. You're a conquer mind, trying to conquer other minds, selling. I hear all about you, what this looks like imprisonment. Yeah. Verses that the prisoners don't know that they're prisoners. Even defend the tactics that they used to imprison them. Another conquer mind, trying to conquer other minds. Please come and hear our truth. Religious freedom is an oxymoron. None of them books scare me. Not the Bible, not the Quran. This is the Islam. And it's fundamentalism. The day you release your women, I'll quit releasing venom. Until then, no amount of scientific contributions could ever excuse your hateful chauvinistic institution. But here's the real reason I'm not a Muslim. Children, see your anointed prophet used to fuck them. Listen, Muhammad was taking children as wives. One he married at 6 and consummated at 9. He was somewhere in his 50s trying to get in them draws. She wasn't even 10 yet, still playing with dolls. So they try to hit me with the older times were different, rationalizing atrocities. Now you sound like Christians. I charge the views on women as sickening. Either update the culture or just fade into history. But either way, this looks like imprisonment. What's worse is that the prisoners don't know that they're prisoners. Even defend the tactics that they used to imprison them. For conquer minds, trying to conquer other minds, selling. I hear all about you, but this looks like imprisonment. What's worse is that the prisoners don't know that they're prisoners. Even defend the tactics that they used to imprison them. For conquer minds, trying to conquer other minds, challenge. I hear all about you, but this looks like imprisonment. What's worse is that the prisoners don't know that they're prisoners. Even defend the tactics that they used to imprison them. For conquer minds, trying to conquer other minds, selling. I hear all about you, but this looks like imprisonment. What's worse is that the prisoners don't know that they're prisoners. Even defend the tactics that they used to imprison them. For conquer minds, trying to conquer other minds, challenge. And hear our truth.
Uncle Job Snap, who two up on Black Power Film. What up? It's your brother in Google, now you see RA&M. Once again, you were tuned in to RA&M, RBG TV. You know we keep it G. Just a little uncut common sense. Of course, for the common people. And of course, dealing with the common issues, but we're trying to seek the common solutions. You know what I'm about to do. You know what I'm about to say. So say it along with me, family. How we gonna win this war? How we gonna get out of these hells? What is the method? What is the madness? The mantra? The motto? It's black love. You know why? Because black love is the cure for the black nation. So let's get it. Sometimes, like always, every so often, whatever, we gotta take it back to basics. Take it back to a basic level so we can get a genuine, general, common understanding of what it is that we're dealing with. And of course, like I always say, also, what you think, you speak, you walk. So the first and foremost thing, you always got to tackle the mind. You got to deal with the psychology of any scenario that you're dealing with. And being the fact that dealing with black people, we are a primary factor in all situations that we deal with on any level. it's us that are the primary factor. So primarily, we should start to take a look into our own way of thinking, our own psychology, right? So we're going to discuss things that pertain to Stockholm Syndrome. Today we're going to tackle the Stockholm Syndrome. For those that know about it, big ups and black power to you. Continue to spread the message if you are out there, and I urge you and encourage you to do so. For those that do not know what Stockholm Syndrome, this video is going to be for us. This is going to be, and when I say us, because I always speak on the collective. But nonetheless, this is what we're going to tackle today. This is what we're going to handle. Stockholm Syndrome, what it is, how it affects us, etc., 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 etc. So, before I begin my build, I want to direct you to a clip. Pay attention to this clip. Watch it. Study it. That way you can get an understanding and you see my premise where I'm going with it for today. And after we come back from the clip, we're going to talk about it. We're going to build. Like I said, today we're going to discuss Stockholm Syndrome. I haven't figured out what I'm going to call it today, but when it goes up, you'll know what it is. But in the meantime, between time, like I always do, I encourage you. You walk with me, I walk with you, and you know how we do. Always remember, family, that black love, once again, is the cure for the black nation, so let's get it. Also, remember, family, thinking is not illegal. Living black ain't wrong. So with that being said, kick back, sit back, relax, do what you do. Stay tuned. Again, this is RNMRBG TV. I want you to pay attention to the clip, and after that, we're going to come back and we're going to build. So keep it locked, keep it G, family. This is RNMRBG TV. You heard? Let's go.
I'm just as in office reading this post. I run into a KIK Knowledge is King. It's the introduction of a series of posts. The name of the series is The Oppression of Black People, the Crimes of this System, and the Revolution We Need. Here's the introduction. Check it. The young man was shot 41 times while reaching for his wallet. The 13-year-old was shot dead in mid-afternoon when police mistook his toy gun for a pistol. The unarmed young man, shot by police 50 times, died on the morning of his wedding day. The young woman, unconscious from having suffered a seizure, was shot 12 times by police standing around her locked car. The victim, arrested for disorderly conduct, was tortured and raped with a stick in the back of the station house by the arresting officers. Does it surprise you to know that in each of the above cases the victim was black? If you live in the USA, it almost certainly doesn't. Think what that means, that without even being told, you knew these victims of police murder and brutality were black. Those cases and the thousands more like them that have occurred just in the past few decades add rivers of tears to an ocean of pain. And they are symptoms of a larger, still deeper problem. But some today claim that America is a post-racial society. They say that barriers to black advancement have been largely overcome. Many go so far as to put the main blame for the severe problems faced by black people today on black people themselves. Others claim that better education, or more traditional families, or religion, or elections will solve things. So the questions must be sharply posed. What really is the problem? What is the source of it? And what is the solution? This special issue will answer those questions. We'll show how the oppression of black people has been at the very heart of the fabric and functioning of this country since its beginning and up to the present time, and what has actually caused these centuries of suffering. We've analyzed the massive struggles waged against this oppression, showing why, even when they've won concessions, their powerful call for justice has been betrayed by the system each time. And what lessons can be drawn for a revolutionary struggle that actually could win liberation. We'll get into how a revolution could deal with and overcome that oppression, bringing in an entirely different, and far better, system as part of getting to a whole new, emancipated world. We'll analyze other programs and show how anything short of revolution is a false path and a dead end. And we'll point to why such a revolution is possible, yes, even in the use and what must be done to actually prepare for and carry out such a revolution. This a side note from Bob Avakian, chairman of the Revolutionary Communist Party, USA. There will never be a revolutionary movement in this country that doesn't fully unleash and give expression to the sometimes openly expressed, sometimes expressed in partial ways, sometimes expressed in wrong ways, but deeply felt desire to be rid of these long centuries of oppression of black people. There's never gonna be a revolution in this country, and there never should be, that doesn't make that one key foundation of what it's all about. Wow. Powerful read. I will continue this series a later time, but if you want to read the whole series yourself, join the website KIK Knowledge is King and join the group, The My Education of the Negro, unquote. Peace. 2 fingers. I am out.
And we're back. So once again, like I said, you were still tuned in to RNMRBG TV. You already know we keep it G. Now we're going to get into some breakdowns. Before I go forward any further, I want to read to you the definition of what Stockholm Syndrome is for those who have never heard of the definition. So with that being said, that's what it is right there. You see it? Now we're going to read it to you. Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome, or capture bonding, is a psychological phenomenon in which hostages express empathy and sympathy and have positive feelings toward their captors, sometimes to the point of defending and identifying with the captors. These feelings are generally considered irrational in light of the danger or risk endured by the victims, who essentially mistake a lack of abuse from their captors as an act of kindness. The FBI's hostage barricade database system shows that roughly 8% of victims show evidence of Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome can be seen as a form of traumatic bonding, which does not necessarily require a hostage scenario, but which describes, quote, strong emotional ties that develop between two persons where one person intermittently harasses, beatens, threatens, abuses, or intimidates the other, end quote. One commonly used hypothesis to explain the effect of Stockholm Syndrome is based on the Freudian theory. It suggests that the bonding is the individual's response to trauma and becoming a victim. Identifying with the aggressor is one way that the ego defends itself. When a victim believes the same values as the aggressor, they cease to perceive it as a threat. Stockholm Syndrome is sometimes erroneously referred to as Helsinki Syndrome, but we're going to keep it at Stockholm Syndrome. That's the definition. If you want to get the source for it, I got it in from a general Google search. Go into Google, Wikipedia will come up, check the link or whatever. That's the overall general definition of what Stockholm Syndrome is. Textbook version, yada, 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 yada. Now, black people, my people, what up? First and foremost, you know I love us. You know I love y'all. I love myself. That's why, right? But I'm going to keep it as simple as I possibly can. This is what we suffer from. Stockholm Syndrome. As a people, as a collective, and even as individuals, this is what we suffer from the most. Stockholm Syndrome. If you were to put everything that we suffer from mentally into 2 words, those would be the 2 words. Stockholm Syndrome. Period, point blank. And of course, that is dealing with many levels, from the economics to overall social living, communication with one another, education, also dealing with police brutality, religion. Of course, family don't want to deal with that. History. It goes on and on and on and on. Stockholm Syndrome is what describes the mental state of black people to the letter. Why do I say that? I say that to say this. You go outside. You just have a quick little thought to yourself, a little moment to yourself, if you will. And if you really think clearly, and honestly, if you will, you got to be honest with this. You have to be honest. You have to admit and finally come to the conclusion once and for all. Like I said before, you got to face your fear for what it is. Deal with it. That way you can move on. You have to identify what your fear is. Our fear, nonetheless, if you will, if I were to put it in that word, but our a particular symptom of the Stockholm Syndrome is the fact that, just like the definition states, we embrace everything that has been put forth in place to harm, ridicule, demonize, halt our progression, if you will. We love it. We embrace it. It's almost as if we can't live without it. Just look how we operate. Look how we think. Look how we speak. Again, like you already say, like I always say, what you think, you speak. You speak, you're going to walk into existence. Look at the way we've been walking. Look at the way we've been speaking. So, of course, it's a reflection of our minds. We embrace everything that harms us. Period, point blank. For example, I'm going to get this one out the way early. Religion. One of the biggest and most vital mind tricks ever played on black people. On people world over at all. But, of course, I'm dealing with us. Just think about it. Prior to these westernized thoughts and westernized religions or whatever, how were we in tune? How were we giving our reverence and honor and praises, that and third? We were giving it by way of nature. You understand? Yes, there were different names for this, for the different systems, but overall it was one general system, and that system surrounded and derived within nature, period. Whether if you were dealing with the Netters on the east or you were dealing with the Orishas on the west, you're dealing with nature. Different aspects and attributes of nature. It's all in within, the embody of the man, the woman, and child. But when I say the man, I'm talking about the person nonetheless. That's what you were dealing with. That's what the system was. Prior, like I said, this is what we were doing before the Judaism, Hebrew culture, before the Christianity, before the Islam, all this other stuff, and the many different tentacles that stem from those three religions. That's what we were doing. We were in tune with nature. We were in tune with the universe. We were in tune with each other, nonetheless. We didn't need any intermediaries. We didn't have to go to this one to get to this one. It wasn't that. We didn't have no books that bind your mind. None of that. You were in tune with the universe. That's as far as it went. But that's what it was. Now, we get greeted by these foreigners who at first came in as a friend. Let's get that clear. They didn't come in swinging. They didn't come in with the axes, and they didn't come in with the guns at first. They came in posing as a friend. Us being who we are naturally embracing. We are a natural warm people, or at least I say we were. That kindness was taken as a weakness. That's when things started changing. That's when the manipulation started to arise. That's when the force and control nonetheless took place. Right? After the kindness was taken for a weakness. And that's what pretty much was going on right now to this present day. They take our kindness as a weakness. They prey on that weakness because they know that for a fact we have not shown and proved the opposite of that kindness, if you will, called resistance. We haven't put that up there. We haven't put a sense of defense up. So nonetheless, they ride down. They give us the trickeries with the religion. They give us the Judaism. They give us the Christianity. They gave us the Islam. They gave us all of this shit, right? And how was it given to us? It wasn't just given to us on a teacher-student type of scenario, them teaching the lessons, etc., etc., etc. No, that shit was beat into you forcefully. That shit was beat into you. You understand? It was made examples the religions were made to used to make examples of the people, if you will. For example, with Islam, the whole double castration and the repopulating with our women by their seed, though. Killing off our seed, the man, right, by way of the double castration. The re-impregnating of our women with their seed to recreate and expand their people, their gene pool, etc., 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 etc. All of this was done in the name of Allah, the name of Islam, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So again, this is how we got these different religions. But us in here in the West, because we've had them for so long, because we've clinged to them for so long and embraced it for so long, completely disregarding the history, completely disregarding the facts, we embrace the belief. The belief is what runs our minds. Let's keep it clear. Belief runs the mind of black people. The hope for a better day and this, that, and third versus facing the reality of right now to create a better day. We're hoping for a better day the whole time. This is what we look like when we walking, metaphorically speaking. We're just walking blindly because that faith, that belief Now, there's nothing wrong with a sense of faith. There's nothing wrong with a sense of belief. But it's wrong when it overrides sense of fact. It's wrong when it overrides reality. You understand? And the reality states that we've gotten these different mind tricks, these mind locks, and this, that, and the third, all by way of illusion, all by way of trickery, if you will. Force. As you know what I'm saying? Excessive force nonetheless. But we've embraced it, we've basically claimed it as our own, made it our own, and even when the facts and the information is presented before you, nobody wants to hear it because that belief is so strong. That mind lock is locked that tight. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. So once again, we embrace our captors on different levels. One of them, like I just said, was the religious way. We embrace their religions as our own. Meanwhile, we don't want to admit to what it does to the mental. And you already know, if your mental is jacked up, that's the first and the biggest fail right there. Because you're going to speak a certain way. And once you speak a certain way, you're going to walk within that speech. You understand? I know I'm not going to go super duper into the whole religious thing, but you already know what it is for yourself. If not, just do your own personal research on these different religions, then compare it to how black people carry themselves today. Look at the thought process, look at the speech patterns. Then you'll see the walk. You can do that on your own. When it comes to something like in education or in economics, I'll deal with education real quick. With education. You know just as much as I know that the public school systems, right? No matter where you are in this country, public school system is, of course, the premier education system that our kids are involved in, but also it is the premier negative, if you will, because they're not getting taught what they need to survive, what they need to reproduce for themselves. They're being taught how to empower other people's empires. We're taught to go to school, get good grades, pass the exams, whatever, so we can get a good job. We're not taught or showed ways to go to school, get lessons and that and third, so we can create jobs. We're not in those type of institutions. We're involved, and we continue to involve our kids within educational institutions that empower and create empires for other people. This is what we do. That's a given fact. Now, these are the same empires that restricted black people from learning in the first place. It was illegal. It was on the books, family, for you not to read and write. Now, this is the same system that basically changed the cosmetics, if you will. Same system, just different cosmetics, just different tweaks here and there, whatever. So it went from you can't read and write, now we're going to tell you what you can read and write, if you will, what you can comprehend, so you can basically live for a specific purpose, which is, again, to create, empower somebody else's empire. Not to create your own infrastructure, not to create your own employment and careers and that and the third, so you can put your own people on and get that economic things rolling, grooving, all that good stuff. That's not what we're taught. And not for nothing, it's been going on for so long with us, our parents, their parents, whatever. This is what the parents teach the children. Go to school, get a good job. Go to school, get a good education so you can get a good job. Go work for somebody else. We're not necessarily saying so you can go work for somebody else, but that's what the overall message is, to go work for somebody else, do for somebody else. It's almost as if the idea of doing for self does not exist within the minds of our people, because that's not a lesson that we're passing on to the next generation. We're just saying go to school, get a good job to basically, again, fill somebody else's banks up. We're not learning what we need to learn. Agriculture, science, military science, political science, etc., 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 etc. We're not learning these things, and we're not seeking to learn these things. So with that being said, it's almost as if you're embracing the same educational system that has kept your mind on lock for the longest time. You're saying it's cool. As long as I got my high school diploma, it's all right. As long as I can get a little bachelor's degree in this field that I'm probably not even going to get a job in the first place, it's all good because I got this little piece of paper. This is what we're doing. Little trinkets here and there makes us dormant. Yes, a high school diploma is a good thing to get. I hear you. College degree is a good thing to get. I hear you. But if it's not going to be used for you, by you, to empower those that look like you, walk like you, live like you, what are you doing? What are you doing? So again, we hold on to things that are basically against us. We embrace things that are basically against us. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. Look up the definition for yourself. You'll see how it applies. communication against brother and sister, old and young. Follow me. Again, the same ones that created the educational system, the same ones that created the religious systems, the political systems, etc., etc., etc. These are the same ones that have also recreated, by way of the recreation of the African into the Negro, the nigger, right? Because that's a whole nother creation once we came into this world. We went from Africans, those back on the continent or whatever indigenous name that you would like to choose. We went from those indigenous people back on the continent to Negroes, to niggas, right? With that type of negative mind state, right? Now dig it. That same people, that same entity nonetheless, same system, whatever you want to call it, that created those different mind locks that I just discussed and a lot more, they also recreated the way and the dynamic, the way we communicate with one another as black people, right? We're quick to go to war with each other over the smallest, the stupidest, the most dumbest of things, right? We'll go to war I'm talking all out, full scale war with each other. It starts off small, but it ends out way big. Real talk. It starts off with something as a name call or a dirty look or whatever, and of course you already know where it ends up. Caskets, folks snitching on each other, sending each other to jail, this, that, and third. Reckless, just is irrelevant, stupid fights. That's how we communicate with one another. A simple hello can end up in a fight. Real talk. All because of the way that we have our minds warped, nonetheless. Our minds are wrapped around each other to look at each other in a negative light. So again, this is why I always say black love is the cure for the black nation. So let's get it, right? We've been taught, we've been shown, nonetheless, and made example of how to not love one another, how to hate one another. So therefore, it's second nature when we see each other. It's second nature for me not to speak to you. It's second nature for me to avoid you if possible. It's second nature, if I can avoid you, to create, some type of confrontation between me and you. It's second nature, right? But it's also second nature that when you see somebody who does not look like you, who is not from where you from, who does not speak the language that you speak, when I mean the language, I'm talking the way you walk, the way the overall aura of black people that don't have that nonetheless, right? We're taught to pay the highest respects, the highest homage. We're taught to embrace them, love them as the way we should love each other. Case in point, white police officer comes down the block, everybody's tip-top shape, everybody's respectable. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am, etc., etc., etc. Brother come on the block, right? It's warfare. It's wartime. You know what I'm talking about because you see this shit on your own too. So don't front like you don't see this for not to be a reality. Our minds, our communication, right? Again, it's hateful towards one another, but loving and embracing to ones who actually got us in the situation that we at right now, going back and forth with each other. Because the way that we were shown, watch this. The way that we were in showed this way of how to go back and forth with one another was the same way that they go at each other. Let's get that clear. In order for there have been black on black violence and black on black crime, whatever, it was shown two ways. One, from white on white violence, white on white crime. Then it evolved into white on black and white on violence and crime. You understand? So we were shown on two different scales, two different levels on how to go at each other. Case in point, this is why it runs so well right now. But again, we'll go at each other, drop off a hat, turn right around, pay the utmost respect to the ones that got us beefing in the first place. Stockholm Syndrome. Backwards thinking. There's many different things I can discuss with that, but I don't want to jump around and bounce around. I'm doing that enough as it is. But at the end of the day, our minds as a people is wired backwards. It was created that way for a reason. It was created that way for a reason. We are not the originators of that working and wiring. Understand? Of course, you know where it comes from. White folk, Europeans, as well as Asians, and now not Asians, as well as the Arabs. They had a hand in wiring this, that, and the third, and now it's also being benefited on for the Asians. It's being a benefit for the Hispanics, being a benefit for everybody else but us. The way our minds are wired, it benefits everybody else. And again, we embrace everything that is a competition against us. Again, this is why you have to use the concept race first. Now Marcus Messiah Garvey brought to us. You have to think in the concept of race, because when you put yourself in the concept of race, you're thinking in the mode of competition. You against somebody else, your people against somebody else. You got to make sure that your people are up front. They're doing it for them. Why are you not doing it for you? Simple. Again, Stockholm Syndrome. Stockholm Syndrome. You're embracing that which is a hindrance to you. You don't want to admit it because you've been sold the whole story of integration. You've been sold the whole story of we shall overcome, etc., 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 etc. But nobody believes in that shit but black people. Again, we embrace everything that was put against us, still used against us to this day, but then turn around and blame each other with no remorse, you know what I'm saying, no hesitation. We'll blame each other for every situation that we have that we're dealing with. Now let's keep it 100. Again, like I said in the beginning, we are the primary factor, so we do need to take accountability and responsibility for the little thing, for the things that we can change, for the things that we can manipulate from the ground up. The so-called powers that be, they gonna do what they gonna do. But as far as us and how we can rock or whatever, we do have a sense of responsibility that needs to be taken. I will not sit here and lie to you on that one. But at the end of the day, we have to face the origin of any situation. You got to face the origin. Because if you just look at the end part, you're only going to look at the effects. If you don't know what the cause is, your effect, nonetheless, is going to be confusing to you. You're not going to understand the effect because you don't know the cause. So yes, we have to go back and look at the manufacturers of all of this mental shit that we got going on within our minds right now. We have to look at the manufacturers of this Stockholm Syndrome that we have running through our veins, running through our minds. We have to look at that. We have to. We have to face it, look it in the eye for what it is. That way we can map out a specific plan accordingly. Again, if you're just looking at the entrail, if you're just looking at the effects, you're not going to understand the effects because you fail to understand the cause of it. You understand? For every action, there's a reaction. You can't focus on the reaction if you do not know the original action that caused it. It's that simple. It's science. It's a very simple equation. So again, all in all, dealing with this whole Stockholm Syndrome thing, the simple fact of the matter is black people's minds, and not just today, not just yesterday, but for a long time, for centuries amount of times, almost, actually, if you add up both encounters, the Arabs and the Europeans, we talking almost 2,000 years of a mind warp, of a mind lock. You understand? So again, we've been basically, because I take that back. We embrace it as a form of escaping it. We think by the more we embrace it, the more we love it and hold hands and all this other stuff or whatever, it'll just eventually evaporate off. It'll disappear off. No, more is going to continue to come because they see they got you. They can get to you anytime they want you because they know they have your mind still under control. They know that your mind is still wrapped around them. They know that your mind is wrapped around pleasing them, appealing to them, versus that of appealing to yourself, appealing to your people, loving yourself, loving your people. They know this. They know that at the drop of a hat, you will turn on yours. You will turn on you and your own for their benefit. They know this. They know this. They know this. The question is, do you know this? Do you care to know this? Because that's the only way. That's one of the major ways that we're gonna have to get about this situation that we're in. We're going to have to take a walk within our own minds. That's a fact. You're gonna have to take a walk within that of your own mind and see what I'm talking about when I'm dealing with this whole Stockholm Syndrome thing. Again, that's a scientific word. I gave you the textbook definition earlier, whatever. But nonetheless, the overall definition on a common sense for the common people level is our minds is wrapped and geared to love that which does not love us, and to hate that which is to love us, which is each other. That's the overall meaning of this whole Stockholm Syndrome thing. So again, if you don't think there's a reality of it, I urge you and encourage you, just go outside. Have a conversation or two with a brother and a sister. You know what I mean? Then I guarantee you'll get to see what I'm talking about. Because again, what you think, you speak, you walk. Look at the way we've been walking for a long time. How we walk backwards towards one another, but we'll run. You feel what I'm saying? We'll run to everybody else. Again, these same people, they're only running towards you to exploit you, not to love you, not to be one with you. Again, we were sold a mind trick back in the 60s with the whole integration thing. We fell for it, we're still falling for it. They only want to integrate with you for economic reasons, to get your dollars. You want to integrate to be loved, be liked, loved, and cherished, and this, that, and the third. They don't think the way you think. They think again, as far as competition, you think we are the world. It's not gonna happen. So again, it's all about psychology. It's all about the psychology. You got to be able to take steps within the minds of yourself, the minds of your people, and see where it is, see what is for what it is, why things are the way they are, and then I guarantee you, you'll be able to see who is who, what's what, and the ways that you need to go to get your way seeking advancement. Stockholm Syndrome, once again, like I said, is nothing more than backwards thinking. That's pretty much all it is. It's just backwards thinking. Reverse that shit and aim forward. And the best way you aim forward is thinking about you and your people. Everybody else does it. Why do not you? Black man, black woman, and black child. You have to think about you and your people. You have to think in the concept of race. The reason why you cannot see race is, again, because of this thing called Stockholm Syndrome. Folks won't admit it, but at the end of the day, reality is real because reality is being lived on a daily basis. These are the ways that we've been living. That's the reality of it. Stockholm Syndrome. We embrace, again, our captors, our oppressors. We'll turn around and tell each other, yeah, what happened. Case in point, all these different police issues that be going on, right? Church shootings and this, that, and the third, and all the other stuff, right? All the stuff that basically, all the shit that's been going on since summertime for a long time, but it was highlighted over the summertime, right? We're taught, again, the whole we shall overcome shit, forgiveness and pray for them and yada 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 yada. Stockholm Syndrome. But again, when one of us does an offense against them, does a crime against them, does something bad against them, they're not saying to their people, pray for this person so he gets his mind right, this, that, and the third, and they're not saying forgive him so he can be at peace in his soul and this, that, and the third. No, they're saying what he did, something's gonna happen to him, or something. The case like they're seeking the sense of judgment according to their own terms. You understand? They're seeking an explanation and justification according to what they feel is justifiable. Our justification comes by way of seeking for their better mental state and this, that, and the third. If we're gonna put it this way, if you're gonna seek help for somebody's mental state, I suggest you seek help for the mental state of your own people, because at the end of the day, let's keep it real. Our mental state is backwards. Again, backwards, twisted up. And again, the way we think does not benefit our movements. It does not benefit our walks. It does not benefit us on any level. It only benefits the ones that gave us this mindset. Think about it. Think about it. Everybody else is doing good. Everybody else is living fine. All in together now for themselves, right? Us, on the other hand, scraping, scratching, trying to make something happen, basically just overall surviving. They're living. We're trying to survive. And we think our survival is going to come by way of always trying to appeal and kiss everybody else's ass or whatever, love everybody else, this, that, and third, by way also by going at each other. The crabs in the barrel syndrome. That's backwards. Nobody else does like that. Nobody else thinks like that but us. So the minute we get our shit together, the minute we get our thought process together, that's all. That will be the determining factor when we can move. You have to tackle this. You have to get rid of that negative thought process and recreate your thought process for a positive. Period. You have to get the white supremacy out of your mind, basically, in order for Black Power to be the thought of the day. You gotta get white supremacy out of your mind, the love for white supremacy out of your mind, so the love for Black Power can be the order of the day. That's how I'm gonna say that like that. So again, that's what it is. There it is. Stockholm Syndrome. Backwards thinking. That's pretty much it. Questions, comments, concerns, get at me. Again, I do apologize if it seemed like I was bouncing around or whatever, but it is what it is. Again, you've been tuning to R&M RBG TV. You already know we keep it G. Just a little common sense for the common people seeking common solutions. That's pretty much it. And of course, once again, Black love is the cure for the Black nation. So let's get it. When we love ourselves individually and then collectively, we will love each other enough. We will love ourselves enough to recreate that mind state. We will love ourselves enough to detach from that mind state. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. So, in the meantime, between time, keep it locked, keep it G, stay tuned to the next one. Again, this is R&M RBG TV. Your brother in Google, now you see R&M. Stockholm Syndrome is what's holding us back, family. Backwards thinking is what's holding us back, man. Because if you can't think straight, you ain't going to be able to walk straight. It's just that simple. So let's start taking that trip through that mind, looking at the reality of the mind to recreate the mind. By recreating the mind, you're creating your people right then and there. Again, thinking it's not illegal, living black ain't wrong, man. Let's go.